Hey everyone, Andrew here, and welcome to episode 27 of Beyond the Bike podcast. Hope everyone's doing awesome. This week on the podcast, for me, 2020 starts now. And so I'm going to talk a bit about where things are going, some of my new tweaks to the awesome system that I have going. So just to get to tweak a few things and add a few new projects to the list for 2020, and super excited about that. We're going to talk about chapter 17 in Atomic Habits by James Clear, how an accountability partner changes everything. And then, as we do each week, I finish with a final thought for all of us to think about this week and maybe apply along the journey. So, without any further ado, let's get this podcast rolling. And so, super excited. You know, it's Friday came and marked kind of like Christmas break for us. And so again, you know, it's such an important time of year for, you know, the students and the teachers, the educators, you know, myself as, you know, one of the leaders in the school, to just hit the old pause button and give ourselves a bit of a break. And so I'm on a holidays for 2 weeks, and I'm going to enjoy every second of it. So, you know, super excited about that. And as I mentioned in the intro, 2020 has already started for me. Again, it's this has been an awesome year for me on so many levels. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing this year is I'm just going to tweak things. I'm going to stay the course with a lot of the positive things that I've, you know, implemented and incorporated in my life. And, you know, I'm just going to kind of add a few new things. And one of the big, you know, I get big ideas or, you know, a big takeaway, if you're listening to this podcast, is I want you guys to kind of see before your eyes a dude who basically just goes for it. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I found to be so important in my life, is if I wait until I feel like I'm ready to do things, then probably most likely I'll never act. And so one of the things I've learned is you gotta go for it. So you get these ideas, and then at some point you gotta just dive in, and you kind of hope for the best. And one of the things that I've learned is that mistakes, errors, good days, bad days, they're all part of the growth. But you gotta act to have the successes. You have to act to have the mistakes, or to make the mistakes, I guess. And so again, this year, super excited about some of my new projects. One of the things that you're going to notice on Instagram is last year, the focus was your best day. The focus was showing up every day, focusing on the present tense. And I've turned that into an atomic habit. You know what I mean? In kind of all of the areas of my life, is that idea that if you just show up every day, you do your best, and you look for the learning in everything and anything that's happening to you, you keep moving forward. And so your best day was an awesome thing. I had a great year on the bike. And, you know, as part of the Insta Pelo community. And this year you're going to notice, and again, you know, whoever listens, or the people that listen to this podcast, it's a kind of like a small group. So you guys are going to be on the end of my rationale and what I'm doing. There's going to be another group of people that are going to be going, what's happened to your best day? But for 2020, my focus turns to Beyond the Bike. So it's funny how things work out. Again, the Peloton for me is an atomic habit. It's automated. It's something that I love to do. I get so much from it. I benefit so much from it, like you guys do. And I've been, kind of thinking over the past weeks, what is it that I need? I need to go to continue my growth. I need to go beyond the bike. And so everything that I'm going to be doing is going to be focused in on that. And so again, you're going to notice that my Instagram, my name is going to change to Beyond the Bike by Your Best Day. I want to stay true to, kind of like my roots on Instagram and how this all started, but I'm going to go beyond the bike there. The podcast is continuing. It's going to be a once a week journey. And the little tweaks that I'm going to make is I want to kind of venture off into YouTube. And so there's a couple of things I'm going to do. Maybe some of you guys are watching right now. So I'm recording the podcast video style here, and cheers. And so if you feel like you want to just kind of, put on the podcast and kind of watch me record in real time, you can do that. And so excited about that, excited about how that's going to look. And also, I don't know if you guys remember, but I talked a bit about, joining a spin studio, and I haven't really talked much about it. And, part of it is, me being honest. Like, I don't like when I, set out goals and don't necessarily achieve them right away. It kind of bothers me. So what I've decided to do is, so going back to that, I am a busy dude. And so, the idea of doing the spinning kind of came about towards the end of the summer. Again, it's one thing when you're on holidays and you have all the time in the world. But, when life gets going and you're back in school and back in the grind, there's just so much time that we have. And what's important to me is always quality over quantity. And so I thought about it and I said, okay, you know what? You want to do the instructional piece. Like, I want to be a spin instructor. Like, I want to do that at some point in my life. So what better way to do it than to just hop on YouTube and start kind of doing some classes and making them available to the Peloton community and also and I would say, like, the Peloton community, like, we have the best instructors in the world. So by no means do I think that, Peloton people are going to, go onto YouTube and check out my little spin classes. But I started my first couple of months, I started with the Schwinn bike. And I remember scouring YouTube for free videos that I could follow with my spin bike. And so I was thinking, you know what? I'll create these videos. I'm going to do it in a way so that it speaks to the Peloton community if you're interested in trying one out. But I was thinking, you know what? Maybe it's just something that's available to other people who don't have Peloton. And so I'm going to actually learn in real time. And again, I've always said it's the best way to do it. And so I'm sure at first it'll be a little corny and whatnot, but over time it'll improve. I'll learn and it'll get better. And so excited about that. I was also thinking, here, let me take a sip. I was also thinking of, like, maybe I could kind of turn it into something cool for my school. And, in every school, there are families in need. And so what I was thinking is I'm going to get it going. I'm going to start with trying to achieve like one class a week. And then once I get it going, I think I'm going to set up like a little donation of some sort, that if there were people out there that felt like, hey, you know what, this Beyond the Bike dude, these are good classes, it doesn't cost me anything, and you know what, I'll donate $2 to the cause or $5 to the cause or whatever. And what I was thinking is I could maybe turn this into something that I do for the families in my school, where all of the funds, 100% of the funds, go to support the families in need. So, you know what? Again, I have that out there as a little idea for 2020. But again, super excited. Beyond the Bike. Again, I've created a little website, kind of all over the place here. Bear with me. So check out beyondthebike.weebly.com. I'm creating a little home for the podcast. I'm creating a home for the spin videos, and a place that we can kind of gather. I'm going to have different ways for you guys to provide feedback and comments and stuff like that I could incorporate into the podcast. I'm going to have my spin classes on there, and again, the podcast in video format. So there you go. There's my 2020, and I am super, super excited about it. And, when I look at it, it's funny how things change. We think things, and then we kind of, you achieve it at a certain level, and you kind of go, you know what, I just want to go back to something more simple. And on Instagram, I want to just make the focus of it being like, I just want to connect and interact with a smaller group of people on social media. I think that's what I want to do. And, just kind of focus on meaningful connections. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm going to put out my content, and you know what? It has a way of inspiring others. And, in some cases, what I'm doing speaks to certain people, to others it might not. But what my hope is, over time, for me to set up a way to kind of know who's listening to the podcast every week. And I want to also, focus kind of like my energy and attention on social media on you guys. So, think about it. No worries if you just kind of want to listen to the podcast or watch the podcast and that's awesome. But if you're thinking, you know what, it'd be cool to really kind of have that more of a meaningful connection, then if you go to beyondthebike.weebly.com, you'll notice there's a little form there, and just fill it in and send me your IG handle. And then I'll know, and when I come back in a couple of weeks to Instagram, I'm going to make it a point to really kind of, interact and encourage what you guys are doing. Encourage your goals and support you guys in your journey this year in 2020. So there you go. That's my plan. 2020, it starts now. So if you notice, if this week on the rides, I went from Your Best Day, I switched to Andrew_Lovett because I knew I was in transition when I took a break from Instagram. And so I am going to be switching everything to Be on the Bike. And you're going to see that on the Peloton, name. I'm going to do it on Instagram, and everything now is just Beyond the Bike. My growth now has to happen Beyond the Bike. So that's awesome. So with that being said, we're a week and a half away from 2020, and part of the podcast today was me kind of, encouraging you guys, encouraging myself to just take a pause, take a little pause here and grab your phone, grab a mobile device if it's handy. If you're in your car driving, don't do it. But when you have a chance, take a pause and go take a look at all that you've accomplished this year. And for me, I look at these numbers and it's almost unbelievable. Like, again, this all started January last year for me. And, now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, wow, I have achieved. Okay, so what I've done is I'm on the One Peloton app. So go to yours if you can. So I'm on it right now. And take a look at these numbers. Cycling, 432 rides as of now. That's incredible. Stretching, 38. Strength, 3. Cardio, 2. Walking, 1. They all matter. They're all days where I chose to show up. And you know what? Yes, we're in the midst of trying to figure out what we want to do in some cases. I know for myself, I didn't want to wait until 2020. I didn't want to wait till January 1st. I just said to myself, how many times do we wait for that moment? The clock strikes 12 and we okay, here it is. This is the new. No way. You know what? I'm doing it right now. I'm making the changes now. I got something awesome going right now. I don't have to do these incredible things, But if you take a pause and if you go and you look at everything you've achieved just in the area of One Peloton, it's mind-blowing. And then you think of, okay, so as a result of being a part of this community, now again, for some of you, it's been longer than me. In some cases, maybe shorter. But then you start to think about, wow, how has this improved other areas of my life? And for me, it's been awesome. And I know in my heart that for you guys too, it's been awesome too. And so a little idea here, a little thought from Rob Dial, one of the podcasts that I listened to, a little quote I came across is, whenever you find yourself doubting how far you can go, just remember how far you have come. Remember everything you have faced, all the battles you have won, and all the fears you have overcome. Doesn't that just encompass the last year? Aren't there moments that pop in your head right now that speak to different parts of that quote? And the key is that everything matters. It was all important. The good, the bad moments, the tough moments, the moments where I needed resiliency, the moments where I didn't feel motivated. And I showed up. And now we're looking at where we're at right now, and it's awesome. And so, again, I wish you, little Peter coming down. Hey, Peter. That's my little puppy. So a little distracted here. What's he doing? Okay. All right. So let's continue. So again, when we think of just everything we've achieved, I wish you guys nothing but the best for 2020. And, again, don't overthink it. You don't have to make it something monumental. If you just look at, tweaking things, doing a few new things, and thinking about what are the different behaviors that I'm going to need to implement to make those things successful. And so, again, with a week and a half left until the new year, we still have time to kind of think about what we want to do. And I'd love to hear what you guys are going to do. So again, if you go to beyondthebike.weebly.com, that little form there, if you already know, I'd love to hear about it. And again, so that I can know, so I can encourage you this year. All right, let's bounce into chapter 17. A little sip here. So in chapter 17, we're coming to the end. Wow, what a journey. So chapter 17, how an accountability partner changes everything. And so some of the big ideas in this chapter here, again, James Clear talks about the inversion of the fourth law of behavior change is making it unsatisfying We're less likely to repeat a bad habit if it is painful or unsatisfying. So again, in 2020, you might want to start to think about, these are the things, some of the new things that I want to kind of, put into my system or implement into my system. But maybe I want to start to think about, how can I make some of the bad habits a little harder to do, kind of thing. In chapter 17, the big theme is the idea of an accountability partner can create an immediate cost to inaction. We care deeply about what others think of us, and we do not want others to have a lesser opinion of us. And so, again, we're blessed, when we kind of all made that decision to purchase the bike. In some cases, some of us are using the digital app. I used it for 2 months. It was awesome. I felt a part of the community. We joined this amazing accountability group, really. It's not just about it being that, that one person or those few people. It's one Peloton and the amazing group of people that are kind of all on the same journey of showing up every day and chipping away at trying to become the best version of ourselves. And, I think of Instagram and how, or even different social medias. I know that there's people that use Facebook too. But just having that place for us to come together and connect and be accountable and make those posts and celebrate our milestones. What a wonderful part of the Peloton community, where we can encourage each other, where we can show up for each other. And one of the things I've always said, and I'm going to continue to say it, is we don't always understand the impact that we have on others. And, when we post and when we do things like I'm trying to do here, it motivates people to believe that they have it in them too, that they can do it too. And so in 2020, let's continue to be awesome accountability partners for each other. In some cases, we look at, I'm just going to turn over here. I'm just going to do this and this. Sorry. So in some cases, James Clear also talks about the idea of a habit contract. So, we can have the accountability group, and in some cases, we can start to look at like our own goals and create a habit contract. So the habit contract can be used to add a social cost to any behavior. It makes the cost of violating your promises public and painful. And so I think we're probably going to see a lot of that over the next week and a half or so on social media, around the Pelo crew. A lot of us now kind of putting out what we're going to be doing. And part of that is creating a habit contract with the community, a social contract, where we're basically saying to everyone, this is what Beyond the Bike by Your Best Day, Andrew is going to do this year. I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it out in a podcast. I'm setting up a website. I'm going to be on social media and connect with the crew. And now, I'm going to do it for 12 months. I'm going to do this. And, for all of us, we're going to start to use this. And it can be a very powerful thing, because I can tell you that since I've started the podcast, and I've talked about it in other episodes, that there's times where I just don't feel like doing it. The motivation's not there. I'm tired. I'm back from hockey with Haley or whatnot. I'm like, it's Sunday night. I got to do the podcast. But the fact that I want to show up for myself, but I want to show up for you guys too. I want to show up for the small group of people that listen to this every week, and that this podcast speaks to you and it makes a difference. Maybe there's one takeaway or a couple of takeaways from the podcast that help you get through the grind of each week. And for me, that's worth it. And that's my habit contract that I have with you guys. Knowing that someone else is watching you can be a powerful motivator. And I know, again, for myself, that applies for sure. And I'm sure it does for you guys too. So there you go. Chapter 17, how an accountability partner changes everything. And maybe let's incorporate that in 2020. Let's turn now to the final thought. So a couple of things for you guys to think about this week. First off, the bad workouts are often the most important ones. It's easy to train when you feel good, but it's crucial to show up when you don't feel like it, even if you do less than you hope. Going to the gym for 5 minutes might not transform your body, but it does reaffirm your identity. And, part of the journey of Atomic Habits is us, setting a course of where we want to be and starting to line up behaviors and habits that affirm that or reaffirm that identity. And yes, it's super easy to do things when we're motivated, but it's even more important for us to do it when we're not. And again, I look back over the past 12 months, and that's a huge takeaway. I am going to lean into that when I need it this year, when maybe I don't feel like it. But it's important to show up, because look where I am now. And think about where all you guys are at too. So let's finish with this idea here from my 365-day book, A Thought Each Day. You are powerful. You are more capable than you know, more brilliant than you comprehend, and more powerful than you can even begin to understand. So do me a favor. If there's one takeaway from this podcast, is I want you to think about that one thing, that one idea that you have, that you're thinking, man, if I can just do this, I will become the better version of myself. Stop thinking. Get out of your head and start to do. Create actions that start to point you in that direction. And over time, you're going to look back and you're going to be blown away of how far you come when you just go for it. And that's the big thought that I want to leave you with this week. And again, check it out at the little website I have here, beyondthebike.weebly.com. And I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas and a nice break if you're able to get a bit of time off. And again, I want you guys to just be at your best. Be the best version of yourselves. And you know the drill. Go get it. All right. Have an awesome week. Take care, everyone.